Friend of mine just this morning sent me a TikTok about the neuroscience of anger. And the person doing the TikTok talked about the reticular activating system and the default mode network, the basal ganglia, how anger is basically just a software loop that your brain runs automatically. And he followed it up with saying, here's how to interrupt it so that you can be in control. And my friend said, I like knowing the biological mechanisms that kind of make that work. It's helpful. And I thought about that. I really did. And I said, me too. I agree. It is really interesting to learn how things operate under the hood. There's a piece of that information which helps us to understand that our anger isn't just because, we're broken or we're a hothead. And that satisfies the mind. It gives us some ease. It gives us something to point to, maybe, to blame, maybe. But then I said, you know, it doesn't actually change anything in your experience to understand the biological mechanism. Now, I want to be really clear about something before I go further. The tools in the guy's TikTok, what he was talking about, the breathing and the grounding and the naming five neutral things, those work. They genuinely work. I'm not here to throw them out. But you might think of them like calling 911. If your house is on fire, you call 911. At least in the United States, it's emergency services, right? You don't sit there and process your relationship with the fire. You get the blaze out. You survive the moment. That's what the tools do. They're emergency services for your nervous system. And emergency services are good. We need those emergency services. But emergency services don't rebuild the house. And a lot of people, I think most people, honestly, are living in a permanent state of calling 911, using the emergency services to survive. Something flares up, they interrupt the loop, bring it back down, get functional again, repeat over and over and over. And it works. I mean, you can live like that. But if you want something that actually changes your well being over time, something that makes the fires less frequent, less consuming, less destructive to your well being, that's a different project. And it starts with a different question. It's not, how do I get through this faster or how do I control this? It's, what is this part of me actually trying to say? Because you might think of it like a flinching dog, dogs that have some trauma and you come near them and they'll, cower down. You don't respond to a flinching dog by getting more efficient at calming it down or even understanding the biological mechanisms causing it to flinch in the first place, right? With a dog like that, you would get low and you would go really slow. And more importantly, you would stay. You would stay until it learned that your presence meant safety, not management, not control. And that's the difference between regulating your anger and being in relationship with it. Every time you use a tool or a technique to get away from the anger rather than moving towards it or being with it, you're sending a message to the part of you that got activated. No, not now. Not like this. Not you. And that part learns. That part absorbs that. That's where shame comes from. And quiet isn't the same as safe. It's just contained. The biology of anger shifts through our relationship, not through override. You can't regulate your way into a nervous system that trusts you. You have to stay long enough for trust to become possible. That's a longer road, but actually the fastest path to your nervous system well-being. I'm wishing you more love, not less, always, even here, even the angry parts. Bye for now.